Well, welcome to today's webinar, Modern Retailing in Action, the Journey to Orders. We are at the top of the hour and we're going to get started. My name is Jason Mejias. I'm one of the product marketing managers here at ARC. Along with me this afternoon, I have Shelly Younger, who's our managing director of Airline Retailing and Settlement, along with Sarah Boyd, who's our principal Airline Retailing Solutions. A couple housekeeping items before we get started. I know we have many people joining today's webinar. All lines will remain muted throughout the duration of the webinar, but we are looking for that engagement. So if you do have questions, we're going to ask you to use the questions area of the GoToMeeting, and I'll be reviewing that question area throughout the session, and we'll be able to get to as many of those questions as possible. But I will let you know that we will be answering those questions. So if we don't get to them all during the webinar, we will be going back and sending out responses along with the recording of this session. Well, without further ado, we're going to get started, and I'll pass this on to Shelly.
Thank you, Jason. Welcome, and we appreciate everyone who's joined. And we're going to talk about, first, we're going to really get into what is modern airline retailing. And the way I think about it is it's about transforming where we are today, which is kind of a fare-driven, ticket-based system, into more of a dynamic retailing that's powered by offers and orders. And we're going to walk through offers. I'm going to touch on that here in just a few minutes, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to talk about orders. So this evolution is geared towards the customer, and it's focused on making buying travel as seamless as the way we buy other kind of retail items and other shoppers. We always use Amazon, but there are so many more out there. We think of, for those that are online, Zappos is another example of a great retailer. But for me, it's often a lot easier to look at it and compare it to another kind of industry that is either going through or has gone through the same kind of transformation. And I hope almost everyone likes music, and music has really shifted from the old days. I'm going to date myself, from 8-track, for those who remember, CDs, to streaming, and it's really moved from catalogs where you're really just stuck with one CD to personalized e-commerce. And air travel is really entering into that kind of future, where the journey, if you will, begins with an offer designed specifically for a traveler. Next slide, Sarah. So the future of modern airline retailing is a world really where buying travel is really as intuitive as it is as we shop online today. Airlines are really going to make the move beyond static fares and kind of the rigid ticket construct that we know today to dynamic offers and orders models. And this is about delivering personalized bundles that combine flights and seats, bags and Wi-Fi, and even carbon offsets. Most of you probably see that today, to a more single kind of streamlined purchase. And for travelers, and probably everyone on this call is a traveler, this does mean a lot more choice. It means a lot more flexibility and transparency. It's really no more of kind of a one-size-fits-all for fares. And for airlines and agencies, it looks to unlock new revenue streams, much smarter data-driven insights, and the focus on customer loyalty, right? Stronger customer loyalty. It's about unifying tickets, EMDs, and PNRs into kind of a single order record that enables a lot more consistent support across digital, whether you're on your mobile, whether you're on web, call center, agency channels, while simplifying servicing and operations. So that's really what it is about. And next slide, please. Go ahead and hit the next. Thank you, Sarah. So next up is, what is our vision for modern airline retailing? For us, it's about kind of 4 key things. The first is empowering airlines, so enabling them to retail and distribute in the way that they want to, put their products in the market the best way that fits their strategies and along with their partnerships. Next up is efficient settlement. For us, again, it's about delivering streamlined, very cost-effective reporting and settlement services that look to reduce complexity and expense. Next is data access and insight. So ensuring that agencies and airlines maintain access to high quality, comprehensive data to drive smarter decisions. We're going to look to do that in a variety of different ways. But today, as we move forward with these kind of dynamic offers, a lot of the data is not going to be coming in the same way that we're used to. So for us, it's about sort of pulling all of that data together for our customers so that you can make smarter decisions. And then last and certainly not least is trusted innovation. So it's about advancing this modern airline retailing with safeguards around payments, around data. As we all know, that's of paramount importance in our world today, and settlement and operations. And to kind of sum it all up, it's about protecting the financial integrity, compliance, and customer trust. So that's our vision, if you will, for modern airline retailing. Sarah, next slide. Thank you. So you'll learn a little bit more from Sarah about how transactions are going to look different in the future. But one thing that we wanted to convey is that there are definitely still some core needs in terms of ARC. And that is around agency accreditation. And that might look different in the future. We might have different types of accreditations in the future, but it's around sort of making sure the airlines know who's doing business and maintaining that integrity in the market. We mentioned transaction reporting and settlement already. Also, credit billing and cash management. While there are some things that will change in the future, we feel like that our component in terms of moving cash around and making sure that end-to-end we're financially secure is important. We provide a lot of financial and revenue analytics, and we expect to actually continue to do that going forward. And debit memo communication, resolution, and benchmarking. While we actually see the debit memos going down in the future, we're going to be in a hybrid world for a pretty long time, meaning a hybrid world of orders and regular tickets. And we see that, we're going to have probably some debit and credit memos in the future, at least for a little while. Data solutions and business intelligence. This is one area where we see significant kind of change and growth happening for us. We offer many solutions right now, but as we move forward, there are a lot of opportunities to increase the data, the types of data that's coming in, and the breadth of data that's coming in. So we're looking to kind of enhance and grow our data solutions and business intelligence area. And then last, again, certainly not least, is risk management and fraud prevention. There are still going to be elements of risk management in the future. And again, things are going to change, but we are already looking to the future and looking at a lot of different functionality like AI on how we can look at data faster and respond faster as we move forward kind of in this new world. Next slide. So it's time for us to talk about how are we transitioning to offers and orders. Sarah, next slide. So let's first, I know a lot of you have heard, we've been talking about offers, and the industry has been talking about offers for a really long time. But I think it's important to kind of set the stage for everyone. Think about it this way. An offer is really everything that an airline can propose to the customer before purchase, not just the fare. So that's kind of an easy way I think about what is really an offer, right? It's a personalized package based on who the customer is, where they're traveling, what are their preferences. So the offer is really around personalizing it, being able to eventually generate a dynamic offer just for me or just for you as a traveler, whether or not you're traveling for leisure or corporate. Offer, of course, for the most part, things that we know and love, our price, our flight times, our seat types, but obviously ancillaries are playing a big part now, and bundles are going to play an even bigger part in the future, where we're combining price and other ancillaries together. So a quick way for you guys to remember kind of the difference between offers and orders. Again, offer is anything that an airline can propose to a customer before purchase. An order then captures that data, what the traveler buys, and it's about payment, and it's about fulfilling that service through the rest of the journey. I think we've talked a little bit about kind of understanding offers, and I've briefly mentioned many of these things, but I do think it is worth repeating. The offer process really is fundamentally changing how airlines sell and personalize and manage travel. In terms of personalization, it's really about you as the traveler seeing relevant and simplified choices, and not just dozens of fare codes for those of us who remember kind of green screens. Airlines can present travelers with offers that match their preferences, kind of loyalty status, trip purpose, or even past behavior. And on the agency side, you can gain access to richer, much more personalized content, which includes bundles. You can compare and sell personalized offers, and it really reduces the fare disparity between kind of what's on airline.com and the agency channel. In terms of the flexible pricing, in the legacy model, we all know fares were pre-filed, they were static. With offers, again, the airline can price things they want to in real time, kind of reacting to demand, right? What is demand doing? What is competition doing? What is in my customer profile? And they can adjust the pricing as they see fit, essentially. And it means, for the airline side, it means smarter revenue management, and of course, the ability to respond to market changes. On the agency side, this means higher, it could mean higher revenue per transaction, impacting commercial performance. The ability to charge service or consultation fees for curated content, and probably most important is strengthening customer loyalty. So customers seeing value in the agency being able to offer kind of new curated content. And then in terms of distribution control, right? The airlines are controlling what they want their audience to see. And for agencies, it is still about seeing content across kind of all channels that it is curated. And then creating competitive advantage, right? That's a lot of what retailing is about, is how do you create a competitive advantage to your customers, being able to target things directly to me. So in the end, offers are really, it's the foundational step towards a digital retailing ecosystem.
Shelly, we have a question that came in regards to offers. How do you define customer when you talk about offers based on who the customer is? Is the customer limited to the traveling passenger?
No, it is not limited to the traveling passenger. We often focus on that, Jason. It's a great question. The traveling passenger is a piece of that, but the corporation is also the customer. And in some cases, the agency is the customer for the airline too. So you have multiple customers there You know, I could be traveling personally, so from a leisure perspective, but then I'm also traveling for my company, and I'm going potentially through an agency. So you have multiple customers there. It's not just the person getting on the plane. That's a great question. Thank you.
No other questions on this content so far.
Okay, great. Next slide, Sarah. So how does ARC support offers? We have had our Direct Connect with NDC product in the market actually since 2018. And our solution, it really works on enabling airlines and agencies to transact seamlessly with NDC through ticketing and orders. Orders is going to come next. Sarah, again, is going to talk about that here in a minute. But the focus over the last few years has been supporting kind of the offer with tickets, right? And I think an easy way to remember that is today, everything that comes to ARC is supported with a ticket in terms of fulfillment. So we have airlines that are sending us their Direct Connect with NDC transactions through a third party. But it allows the agency to see the data that has been issued on that NDC transaction, and it ensures timely settlement. We move the money around, so it's that same reliability and trust that you experience today, but it's with NDC in terms of fulfilling with tickets. Now I'm actually going to turn it over, and Sarah's going to talk about the future in terms of Direct Connect and fulfilling with orders.
Shelly. So Shelly has brought up offers and our Direct Connect with Tickets solution. I'm excited to talk about our brand new Direct Connect with Orders solution. So this is our product and service for retailing and settlement. When you want to actually send us and actually conduct business with ARC in a native orders format. And so we're going to go through what that actually looks like in the future and what orders are and how ARC is adapting to orders. But I think what is exciting to hear is that we are ready for the next generation of airline retailing. So as the industry continues to change, we are changing right along with the industry. So we have, instead of conducting business with us with a ticket and a PNR, and EMDs, we're actually going to be doing settlement and solutions for accounting fulfillment that are based in orders format. We're going to, it'll help you to be able to service across channels, and it will help airlines and the industry unlock greater personalization, provide richer data, and new revenue opportunities. All right. So
Sarah,
what?
just a real quick reminder,
Absolutely.
I know we've had about another 50 or so attendees join. I just want to just reiterate, if you have a question, due to the amount of attendees, we won't be unmuting lines, but we are asking everyone to leverage the questions area of GoToMeeting. If you can type your questions, and we're reviewing them, answering them either in the questions area, or I'll be asking the questions to our panelists. Thanks, Sarah.
Absolutely. So hopefully I've piqued your interest about the new product offering that we are putting out in January. But I'm going to take a few steps back now and talk about what is an order and why are we doing orders. So orders we have leveraged industry standard APIs. So that way we can do things like settlement and accounting processes that we do today. With orders, the hope is that travelers will benefit from simplified customer experiences. I say if you've ever gotten to the airport, and I personally have, and your ticket and your PNR has been out of sync, and you are not travel ready due to some IROP at the airport or something, you will understand the the pain that a traveler goes through because of our legacy technology as an industry. And so by having an order and there's a single record of truth, that can help remove a lot of that pain and provide a simplified customer experience. And then airlines and agencies and technology partners benefit from improved traveler experiences, reduced costs, and enhanced operational efficiencies. There are many legacy processes that are based on that have tickets embedded in them and EMDs embedded in them that require a tremendous amount of manual reconciliation work. And so part of what the industry hope is that with orders, there will be improved data flows, there will be improved connections between agencies and airlines and technology partners, that many of those things, those pain points today can be automated, and we can drive efficiency in those processes. So we're going to go into the structure of the order on the next slide. But what you need to know is all of the things you can still buy, all of the things that you can buy today, but the structure, the data structure, and how those are grouped and presented together changes with an order. All right. So let's talk about the structure of an order. So an order is a single digital record of the purchase. It could include flights, seats, bags, any ancillary as well. It replaces the PNR, the airline PNR. It can replace the ticket. It can replace an EMD. So today, if I'm going to pick on Shelly, Shelly's flying. She buys a flight, a seat, a bag, a meal, and Wi-Fi. Today, she has a ticket number. She has multiple PNRs, one from the carrier. If it involves multiple carriers, she might have multiple PNRs, or it might have an agency PNR in addition to the airline PNR. So you've already got, just with the flight, 2 to 4 or 5 different numbers for that one piece of the order. For the seat, it can be done as an EMD. It doesn't have to be done as an EMD. Same thing with baggage. You could either do it as an EMD or an airline document number. For a meal, let's say that the meal is purchased directly from the carrier up front a few days in advance. It's an upgraded meal. That is typically done as a proprietary order number through the point of sale system of the airline. And it's really difficult today using traditional distribution to buy that meal from a carrier up front through a third party. And the same thing with Wi-Fi. Typically with Wi-Fi, you're buying it from a third party, the Wi-Fi provider that maybe, has white labeled with the airline's branding, but it is typically a third party order number and through a third party point of sale system. So you have multiple different numbers across all different pieces of that transaction, and very few of those systems talk to each other. And if you need a refund for one of those pieces as a traveler, if something goes wrong with your meal, how do you go about getting a refund for that? You have to figure out where to go to get your refund, who to ask. Make sure to ask the right system to do it. It can be very confusing for a traveler. And so one of the best things about orders is it's a box, right? It's a container, it's a bucket, and it can hold all of these different services underneath. So on top you have the order, and it's identified by the order number, but then it's broken down into different order items. So order items are like the building blocks of orders. So the order item has a price with it. So this first order item is the flight, the seat, and the bag, and that would be a bundle that has a price with it. The second order item was the meal that's purchased. The third order item is Wi-Fi. So each of those could have separate prices as well. And then an order item is subdivided into a lower building block called a service item. And that's the actual product or service that's being sold. So the flight, the seat, or the bag would be individual service items. So we as an industry are going through this transformation upfront as part of the offers. We built this structure and came up with this structure, but now we're talking about how do we do everything after sale? How do you account for things? How do you actually board the airplane within this data structure? And actually, how do you settle and reconcile using orders as the structure? So you are seeing the transformation of the industry move towards this model. It's going to take time, but over time, we're going to be going from that legacy world to the order world.
Hey, Sarah, question for you.
Absolutely.
So we often get this question, and I thought I'd ask it here for the benefit of everyone on the phone now.
Sure.
Is this order construct that you're talking about, this isn't at ARC, right? This is all upstream. So I see a couple of questions here or there, and I know we've been asked this before. Is this at ARC or is this upstream from ARC?
So it's a great question. It is like we are talking about conducting business at ARC in orders, but the order doesn't originate with ARC. Up front in the sales process, we just heard Shelly, we just heard you talk about offers, right? And the offer is constructed in this offer in a bucket format with an offer number and offer items and service items underneath. And when you choose to purchase that, then the order is created. And so that transaction happens upstream between an airline and an agency, or if it's a direct transaction, up at the airline only. And then what we are talking about is what happens after that. Today, with if you're going to settle with Direct Connect with tickets, we would conduct business with you with tickets. In this format, we would conduct it with orders. But the order doesn't originate with ARC. The order originates as an agreement between the airline and the agency.
And an agency can still utilize a GDS, correct?
Yeah. So yes. So an agency, we believe that there is still a role in this environment. I think a lot of agencies today rely on aggregators and their GDS to provide that content to them and help them with the upstream offer process. And I anticipate that in the future that an agency would continue to rely on their GDS or their aggregator to not just provide the content up front, but also help facilitate the downline processes that are fulfilled orders as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Sarah, we do have a question that's come in, and
Sure.
we're reading it here in real time. So since this offer order construct is going to be driven by the airline, will each airline be implementing this in their own way, or is there an industry standard that they may try to adhere to?
Both. There is an industry standard. Obviously, IATA is the international standard setting organization, and they have set standards for airlines and agencies to comply with. But even today in NDC, you see different airlines sort of implementing things differently, slightly differently, and they sort of have their own flavor and their own spin on how they use the industry standard. I anticipate in the same way that when it comes to orders and the fulfillment, the settlement, the accounting, that there will be different flavors off of the industry standard. I know we have in our Direct Connect with Orders product, we have some of the schemas to work for the US market and some of the nuances there. And so I think that there will likely be it is a standard, but there's also, in practicality, different airlines doing business different ways, making the schemas work for them.
Great response. We have a couple more questions. And just a reminder, if you do have a question, just utilize the questions area of GoToMeeting where we're reviewing those in real time. We have another question that says, if an offer order contains multiple services like a seat, a club, in-flight internet, will those items or services be detailed in any way with the traveler's charge card? So correlating the order to the credit card at the time of purchase.
That is a great question. And the my best answer is we are still working on it as an industry. I believe that we will get there to where those services are broken out. It takes time. This is a brand new standard. ARC has implemented it, and starting in January, we will have implemented it, but it takes time for the industry to move. So I think that is the direction it is going. And as we at ARC are looking to do credit card form of payment in this standard, we are going to be looking at making sure that we can provide the data to do that. So that is my assumption is where the industry is going, but today we still progress.
Okay, I have a doozy of a question for you. It says, how is ARC thinking about the transition period from tickets and PNRs to orders, and in particular interline settlements where airlines are not aligned? An example, one airline is still utilizing tickets while another is using orders.
Oh golly, we have a whole slide on hybrid world. So question, I jumped the gun a little bit and sort of try to walk through my thoughts on that. Up front in an offer world, an offer order world, the concept is that we are still as an industry working through Interline with NDC schemas. It hasn't been published yet. We are still working through a lot of these things. But the concept is that two airlines would agree upfront on if one airline is doing the overwater segment and then the other airline is doing the quick connection, like domestically in the US or something, then they would agree upfront on the breakdown of how much each carrier is going to get out of that total transaction. That is the concept. So that it should make interline settlement between those two carriers far simpler. That is the long-term view of how this will all work. Like the different segments in there would be different order items and they would have different prices. Now, we all know that there is a long transition period for this, and different carriers are going to move at different speeds. And so you're going to have one carrier who's a partner that is operating in orders and one carrier that is a partner who is operating in tickets. And so those two carriers have a decision to make. All right, is one of them going to fake tickets and they're all going to pretend to be a ticket? Or is one carrier going to fake an order and they're going to sell it all as an order? And it's really going to be up to the marketing carrier, the person who's piecing together all those pieces of decision. But my assumption is that people are going to have to be translating between orders and tickets for a long time and faking it the other way in order to make all of the integrations work.
Sarah, real quick on that one. So, Jenna, I love this because these are the exact kind of questions that are being asked in the industry, right? So I think we've heard out there that there are airlines, right, that for a little bit may decide to do that, right? They may have some orders in the background and they may actually create kind of a ticket construct out of that for some period of time. Eventually Absolutely. It will all move to orders, but that's what you're hearing as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. There are some of the biggest carriers in the world we have heard are converting, either already converted internally or converting very, very shortly to an order-based platform. So instead of having a PSS that runs everything in tickets, they're converting their own internal systems to an order management system. What that means is if they want to continue to conduct business and tickets externally, because it takes a long time for the industry to transition, then they have to layer on a converter on top. So they would take their internal order and then turn it into a ticket, for lack of a better way, and then conduct business with third parties and tickets for, during this hybrid period until those parties are ready to switch over to orders as well.
So piggybacking off of that, Sarah, a question came in, says, will orders only be valid for reservations that are booked as NDC or also a traditional reservation?
So that is a great question. I say orders are valid for any airline direct offer. So I'm choosing my language very clearly here because it does not have to be an industry standard NDC API. As long as the data fields are there that could create the order, it could be an airline proprietary API. There are several low-cost carriers that have their own API structure. They could create an order based on that and conduct business in orders based on their own proprietary data standards. So it doesn't have to be NDC, but it's also not most likely going to be the traditional, like via the GDS distribution route powered by Edifact messaging. I don't see that being done as an order.
So, Sarah, I'm looking at the list of the participants that are, we have a real mix, everything from advanced technical teams, engineering to frontline agents. Can you maybe just give a little bit of clarity as to when we're talking about APIs and schemas, what that kind of means under the hood a little bit?
Sure. So for folks who are less technical, so I put myself back, 8-10 years ago when I first got in this, and I had no idea what an API was. An API is a message. It is the way that two systems talk to each other. It's the language that one computer system talks to another computer system. And so when we are talking about API messages and this being conducted via APIs, what we are talking about is the agency's computer technology system talking to the airline's technology system and the messaging standards that they use to do that. The schema is just the rules. This is the format that you need things in. This is the order that you need these different fields in.
Thank you for that, sir. I appreciate it. Another great question was, if I made the booking directly on the airline website, could I still access the order?
That's maybe. It's an exciting possibility. So today, if you book something on an airline website, it is pretty much forever going to be a direct transaction. And you can't change it at an agency today. It's very, very complicated. There is the possibility, and there's a technical side and a commercial side to this. So it is technically possible for an airline to allow an agency to come in and actually make changes or work on a direct booking. That NDC and some of the order schemas allow that to technically work. There is the flip side on the commercial side about, do airlines want to allow agencies to do that? What kind of safeguards need to be in place to allow agencies to do that? Do we want to make the investment to allow agencies to do that? So it's a technical possibility to do it, but how extensive we'll see that in the industry really depends on a lot of factors.
Which, if it does get picked up that way, it'll add to the benefits that we see here.
100%.
For the efficiency from agents. And right before you go into this slide, this question ties into the benefits, where it says, currently we have miscommunication when the guest calls the carrier or does any change on the airline website, and that breaks the GDS PNR synchronization.
Yep.
Can communication be addressed and mandate communications? I don't think we can mandate, but if I'm understanding correctly, this order construct has the opportunity to create that efficiency.
Absolutely. So let's take something that is shopped and purchased via the indirect channel, via an agency, right? So you have an order that was purchased via the agency. Now something happens. There's an IROP, there's a schedule change, something happens, and the airline sort of takes control of that and makes the change, right? Well, with this order environment, they can actually push that change. Like the airline holds the truth, and they would push a change notification out to the agency, and then the agency can come and find out what change was made. And then the agency can continue the ability to actually work on that order themselves during the next issue, or if the customer wants to make a voluntary change next, or if the customer wants to add, like they're on their way home and they know that they've bought too many souvenirs and they want to add a bag, they could go reshop at the agency, and the agency would continue to have the ability to see and interact with that with that order. There is no more concept of this is airline stock and this is neutral stock. There's no more ticket stock. They're all orders are sort of held by the airline and so agencies could continue to interact with them regardless of where that change was made. All right. Lots of great questions. Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep going. So who's going to benefit from orders? This seems like an awful lot of work that we've got to go through to do this. So why are we doing it? Travelers, simplicity, not having to have multiple reference numbers that could potentially get out of sync, or making sure that they have the right number when they're going in to check in. There's a single reference number that all service providers can recognize. Corporate buyers, so duty of care. One of the best things about this is every service items on this is going to have, is going to be used or operated or unoperated. So you're going to have much better data flows about where the customer is, which, did they actually get on that flight? Did they actually board that flight? The ability to track all of that data and manage your traveler's duty of care is going to be far, far easier. Airlines talked a lot about lower cost. We are making this system like every other retailer. So, whether it's Amazon, whether it is, Walmart, whether it is, your Etsy store that you run, every retailer, pretty much other than like airlines, few other older vendors operate in this order environment. And so we are sort of right-sizing airline technology into this retail construct. So that has a lot of abilities to buy off-the-shelf solutions. So instead of having a specific PSS that's very airline specific, you can have a stock keeper software. Every retailer has a stock keeper software. You could have an airline version of the stock keeper software. So there's a lot of lower costs that airlines are going to see. And then travel agencies. The hope is that in the long term, this is going to make it much more efficient for agencies. You're going to have expedited service and servicing and increased productivity from more standardized processes. So the hope is over the long haul that there might be some pain in that transition, but overall, we're going to straighten out the processes really from the ground up.
Sarah, a question came in. I think that'll tie nicely into your next slide, where how long do you think the transition to orders will be?
Oh, golly. Do I have enough time left in my career? We are seeing the first airlines right now really showing interest and really getting on board. They're making their strong investments, and I think we will see the first airlines come on board this year and next year, and sort of the first mover advantage. And the same thing with agencies. This year and next year, you're going to see a handful of agencies really come on board with this. I think this industry has a long tail. I think we're probably talking 5-10 years towards critical mass, and then think about how long it took us to get rid of paper tickets in every single process. The long tail, there were still paper tickets when I started in the industry 13 years ago, and so it takes a long time to get rid of to get every single carrier changed over and every single agency. So I think we're going to live in the hybrid world for the considerable future. All right. So what is ARC doing about orders? We had took a look at our settlement platform and decided that it was not a workable and viable solution to continue to try to build orders on top of it. We have worked through NDC transformation via the legacy system, but orders, the structure and the way that it operates is too different. So we knew that we needed to build from the ground up. So we will have our first iteration launching in January of 2026. But our long-term vision is to build out, and these are the framework that we're using as we iterate through this process, is to build out a system that is much more flexible and nimble. So data in, it is streaming, it is real time. So the order gets sold, the order gets sent to ARC, real time. This is very different from today, because in today's environment, the legacy environment, we get the data as a big batch file overnight. There's no more batch files. It's all streaming in as the orders get sold during the day. Our new platform's capable of settling orders in real time. So I say, think about when you spend on your credit card and you run the transactions, and you can go in your credit card app probably and see the list of all of your transactions within minutes of you actually buying the purchase. You don't have to pay the bill for those things for, let's say, 30 days, but you can see them and have access to that data within minutes. ARC's platform is going to work the same sort of way. You're going to have access to that transaction. It's going to be processed through our system, and you're going to have access to that transaction within hopefully a matter of minutes from when we receive it. We are going to continue to use settlement, settlement timelines. So you might be paying for it on Friday of the following week, but you'll have access to the data far quicker than today. Integration. We want all of this data to show up in all of our downline processes and services. So Shelly gave you an overview of all of the different places that ARC plays in the industry. And so when we were building this platform, we took a look at our data needs to fulfill all of those different pieces. So you're going to see orders data show up in your data products. You're going to see orders data eventually show up in reporting solutions. It may not be the same reporting solution as today, but eventually you're going to see it show up in your settlement and reporting solutions. And then data delivery. I say one of the coolest things about building the platform from scratch is how flexible and nimble it is. So you have, today I use the BOSS file, for instance. That's my example. The BOSS file is the BOSS file. It does not change. It's like 6 months of effort to try to get a change to the BOSS file. Every single agency's BOSS file is formatted in the exact same way. We all have to agree if we want to make a change. That's not going to be the case in the future. The data outputs, the file outputs in the future, an agency could have a whole lot more flexibility to go in a reporting environment and decide what kind of transactions they want and set up those transactions to be exactly the way that they want. This is our long-term vision. It's going to take a long time to get here. This is a world that's going to exist and change over time. We have some guesses about where it's going to go, but we're also going to adapt as we go along. And things are going to change. The initial versions that came out of NDC back in the 2010 to 2012 look pretty different than the most recent implementations of NDC today. And we think that orders are going to work the same way, that we have some guesses, but we might be wrong on some of those guesses, and that we're going to keep moving and keep innovating along the way. Going to keep going. You know, I referenced this slide a few minutes ago. This is a long process. This is a long term. It's going to take a lot of time to move, and everybody's not moving at the same speed. So at ARC, in the industry, we need to be prepared to support this hybrid world. So you're going to continue to have a ticket-based system. You're going to have some folks converted over to this orders-based world, but for the considerable amount of time, we're all going to need to be operating in this hybrid world. So they're going to coexist. We're going to have to, we're going to continue to offer direct connect tickets, direct connect with orders. We're going to offer both for the considerable, future. And we are going to be there to help smooth and support folks during that transition, and help folks work in the messy middle, and help folks when they're trying to understand how tickets and orders play together. We are committed to helping folks ease that transition through.
So Sarah, I got a good question.
Yes.
More a frontline question. I can kind of read it. In this hybrid world, how do you see exchanges and MCOs operating in? We understand it in the ticketing world, but in an orders environment, how do you see exchanges issued on an MCO?
So in an orders world, if the transaction, if the thing that was purchased was purchased and we're doing business as an order, there wouldn't be an MCO involved. What would happen if you wanted to make a change to that order is that the agency would go back to the airline and reshop it, and then the airline would update the order and send ARC the updated information about that order. That being said, part of that process could be reshopping a ticket. And so the airline themselves will have to figure out how to convert that into a ticket or convert it into an MCO in order to conduct the exchange. But that would be between the two carriers up front during the offer phase.
Perfect. Thank you. No other questions at this time.
All right, I'm going to keep going since we got 5 more minutes. Collaboration. We are working as an industry. We are working as an industry to working with airlines, agencies, technology providers. We are committed to getting feedback from you. I mentioned that this is a long process, and that priorities change, and that the way people implement things changes. So today, currently, we have the NDC Advancement Group, we have the Reporting and Settlement Advisory Council, and we also have Orders Advisory Councils stood up to work with customers to understand things, to help move the industry forward, to get your feedback on our roadmaps, to understand what's important to you and where you're going to be, where your strategies are going in the future. Through these councils, we have 20 airlines, we have 18 GDSs and travel technology providers involved. We have 22 agencies involved. Our hope is that we get good feedback, and we need to collaborate as an industry together. The airline industry is very, very tied together. I say in the hotels, you don't go shopping on your favorite hotel brand's website for their competitor's hotel product. But in the airline industry, that happens every single day. You shop on one carrier's website, and you get a ticket that may involve a segment on a separate carrier. And so we've got to work together as an industry to move this forward. And ARC is sort of sitting in the middle of a lot of these transactions. ARC has a great spot to help the industry collaborate together. All right. So finally, I just want to end this with some questions back to you guys, some questions that you guys should be thinking through going forward. Strategic fit. How will orders transform our value proposition, your value proposition, and customer experience? Competitive advantage. What can your organization gain by being an early adopter and working with ARC or working with others in the industry to, do proof of concepts or get involved early in some of these conversations? Technology readiness. Are technology partners ready for order-based workflows? If you're an agency, are you out there talking to your aggregator, your GDS about the work that they are doing? If you're an airline, are you talking to potential order management systems and revenue accounting systems and distribution partners about their readiness? I'm going to turn it back over to Shelly to finish us out.
Thank you, Sarah. We've talked a lot through over this last hour about processes, some of the processes that are going to change. And so for both the airline and the agency and others on the phone, it's how are orders going to change settlement? And it's not just settlement from an ARC point of view, right? How is this going to impact settlement throughout your organization? How's it going to impact servicing? We've talked a lot about the benefits. And Sarah even talked a lot about refunds and exchanges and how that process is going to change in a pure orders world. So we encourage you to think about that through all the different areas of your organization. Training, what new skills and knowledge will your teams need to succeed in this, both in this new environment, and I would also add in the hybrid world, right? Sarah mentioned this, but I want to reiterate this: the hybrid world's going to be lasting a really long time. And then data visibility. What full access to orders data for pricing, analytics, compliance. What will you have? What kind of visibility will you have to the data when it's sitting in kind of an orders construct or the hybrid environment? There are so many more questions to think about, but here are just a few that we wanted to leave you with. And I want to say thank you for joining and turn it over to Jason.
Thank you, Shelly. Well, just a couple of housekeeping items before I let you all go. Is one, I did open the chat area to include 2 links. It's the links to our new Modern Airline Retailing webpage, as well as our offers and orders page on ArcCorp. Those are new pages that have just been released with a lot of information. There's an FAQ there on offers and orders, specifically around ARC's implementation and role within that space. Be advised that I know many of you asked in the chat as well and in the questions area, will I receive a recording of this? Yet the answer is yes. So we will be packaging this up, the video as well as the presentation. And if you registered and you're on this call, you will receive that link. It will also be available on our offers and orders webpage. Well, on behalf of myself, Shelly, and Sarah, I want to say thank you for spending your hour with us. It was jam-packed with a lot of engagement, a lot of questions. That's what we want. That's what we want to continue to have, that level of collaboration with you. So on behalf of us here at ARC, thank you so much and have a great week.